Hi, hello, welcome back. Welcome if you're new. So today I thought let's talk about some great duologies because I feel like sometimes, especially with fantasy books, sometimes I just don't want to read like 10 books to get through a series. Sometimes I do, okay? But sometimes it's just really nice if an author is able to wrap up a plot, like a full-on fantasy plot, in just two books. So today we're just going to be talking about probably my favorite fantasy duologies, I guess. So let's just get right into it. So I guess we're just gonna start with the typical fantasy. The first one is Six of Crows. I feel like this is an obvious one, but I just love to talk about it. So let's go. If you can't tell, I am in fact a fan because I usually don't buy physical books ever. So having a special edition as well doesn't really happen often for me. So the first book is called Six of Crows and the second book is called Crooked Kingdom. In this duology we follow six characters. Basically I would say our main character is called Cass and he lives in the more shitty part of his town called Caradam, I guess, because a lot of rich people live in this town and there's just this one part of the town where they just don't go there. They are just like, do what you want there. We're just not gonna get involved. We're just okay. And so basically, our character Cass is kind of like the one pulling the strings over there. He has a lot of connections. But one day, one of these rich guys offers him a job that will give him a lot of money. And now Cass really likes money. So of course he's gonna go for it. And the job is basically to break someone or something out of prison. And it's like this really high security prison. So for that, he gets five other people to work with him. And it's just basically a heist. Now, if you don't know, this is technically a sequel, I guess, to a different book series called Shadow and Bone. I personally don't think you need to read it before if you just want more of the world. That's when you can read the other books as well, if you just enjoy the world. But you don't technically have to, because I do feel like the vibes are kind of different. Because we have magic in this world, and in Shadow and Bone, it's very much a big part of the plot. But in Six of Crows, we are more in the part of the world where most people don't have magic. And so, out of our crew, some people have magic, but most actually don't. And the world does get explained pretty well, so you technically don't have to read the other one before. However, after you have read Six of Crows and Crooked Kingdom, after this, there is another duology that I feel like not as many people know about. So I'm here to tell you to read King of Scars and Rule of Wolves. So basically this duology takes place after Six of Crows, so you should definitely read Six of Crows first. And it also has some Shadow and Bone characters in it. So I feel like with this one, if you want to read it, you should read Shadow and Bone first, because otherwise I don't know if you're gonna get it. Because in this book we follow two characters that were more side characters in the Shadow and Bone books, and of course also some characters from Six of Crows. I don't really want to go into it too much because, like I said, it's gonna spoil Six of Crows for you. But just know that I really enjoyed it. I have heard some criticism of people saying that it was like too fan servicey. I disagree. I enjoyed it. I am a fan. I had a great time. But I do think that Leigh Bardugo should stop here because the ending felt a little bit like there could be more, and I kind of don't want there to be more. I think we need to stop at some point. But yeah, Six of Crows duology and King of Scars duology. I really enjoyed them, so I'm gonna recommend them. So the next duology I just read a few weeks ago, and it's called One Dark Window and Two Twisted Crowns. And now I gotta say, I actually started reading One Dark Window a few months ago, and I DNF'd it because it just felt like everything was happening a little bit too slow, but also still too fast, so I was just confused. I think that was just on me though, because it was a time when I was DNFing a lot. I just wasn't really focusing on books. I don't know. But also, my main reason for DNFing was just the names of the characters. I didn't like them. I thought they were stupid. But once you get over that, genuinely, I feel like this might actually become like a favorite book series of mine. I'm not sure yet. I feel like I'm gonna need to reread them again. But so far, after having read both books now, I had such a great time, honestly. So in this book series, we just have a very interesting magic system, in my opinion, and I feel like it doesn't get explained enough. Like, it's definitely a big part of the story, but I wanted there to be even more. I really enjoyed it. So basically we have this deck of cards. I think it's like 12 different cards, and every card can do something different magically. And most people don't have any magic, so they can use these cards to use magic. But there are just like a few couple people that actually do have magic and don't need to use the cards, basically. There's also this like dark mist surrounding the place we live at that's kind of creepy and dangerous. And just the vibes were so good. Like, I had a great time. I really liked it. I gotta say though, I feel like this is promoted as a romantasy. The first one, in my opinion, absolutely not romantasy. Like, there is definitely a romance plot, but there is definitely also a real plot that is a lot more of the focus in the first book. The second one, however, I feel like the second one is full on romantasy. And I feel like I'm going to talk about this in another video because I don't want to spoil anything. But I was so surprised how much I enjoyed this romantasy plot, to be honest, because I usually don't love romantasy. I was all in for this one. The yearning, hell yeah. But like I said, the first one doesn't really have any of that, so you could just read the first one as well and maybe not like the second one as much. But yeah, I just really liked both of them, to be honest. Now for the next one, this is definitely more middle grade, I guess. And I also think it's the only one in this category. I don't remember the name of the second book, but the first one is called The Sunbearer Trials. I read this a few months ago, and I definitely enjoyed it. I do think it just was a little too young for me. But the plot actually was interesting. So basically, this is a Hunger Game type book. Plot wise. So basically, we have these trials, and our characters live in districts. Basically, you're in different categories, and there is a higher one and definitely a lower one. And our main character is part of the lower ones. And then there's this trial. And in this universe, the trial is usually just for the best. Basically, the best of the best children from like age 12 to 18, like Hunger Games. They get chosen by this goddess, because this is fantasy. They get chosen by this goddess to fight in these trials, and it's very possible that people die. It doesn't have to happen. Technically, you could survive, but usually people die. And at the end, the winner is actually getting sacrificed to the gods. So if you win, you technically lose your life. Yeah, I did enjoy it. Like I said, it was a fun time. I definitely liked the first one better. I felt like the first one could have been a standalone, and when I got to the second one, at that point I just didn't care anymore. And the plot just wasn't as interesting anymore, I feel like, because we already had these really cool, interesting trials in the first one. So I don't know, but I would definitely recommend it for a younger audience. It also felt a little bit like Percy Jackson, if you have read that. I really got the vibes from that. And now we're gonna go into the romantasy books, because those were, in my opinion, actually quite fun. So the next one is technically not a duology as far as I know, but I also don't know much because I did read this as a duology. And it's called The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And now, like I said, I don't know much, but I think there's like 4 or 5 books so far, but the first 2 can be read as a duology. I have no idea if the next books follow different characters or if they still follow the same ones. But those 2 books definitely felt like a full story that wrapped up at the end. So you could definitely read this as a duology, and I did. I don't know if I want to keep reading more. Maybe if I'm bored at some point, I don't know what else to read, I'll get there. But right now, I'm good. And so basically this again is a little bit of like a Hunger Game-ish trial. And we follow this girl who's a human, but she has been raised by a vampire. I think they are all vampires, right? She has been raised by a vampire, I'm pretty sure. And basically there's this competition in which many vampires partake, and the winner gets like a wish granted from a goddess. And so our main character really wants to be there, even though she's a human that has no powers among vampires that can literally smell her blood anywhere immediately. We may or may not have to team up with a vampire that's really hot, but we don't like him. And I do think this one again falls more under the romantasy category. There was a plot, but the romance was definitely a big part of it as well. Not so much in the second one, I think. Or was it? I don't really remember that much about the second one, to be honest. I enjoyed the first one more, I think. I don't know. I had a good time. It wouldn't become like one of my favorite book series ever, but I enjoyed it. Oh, and I also read a novella that's basically in the same universe but about other characters, and I also like that. Doesn't have to do anything with duologies, but I wanted to mention it. So the next one is pretty popular, I think, right now, and that's the Crimson Moth duology, with the first one being Heartless Hunter and the second one Rebel Witch. Now with this one, I gotta say, I have conflicting feelings about this because I genuinely really enjoyed the duology. I had a great time. However, technically the premise of the plot is so cool and interesting, but we just don't do anything with the plot. We are here for the romance. And like I said, I enjoyed the romance. I had such a great time with this. I loved this book series as a romantasy, but just knowing that this premise was so good and we did nothing with it just made me kind of sad. So basically, let me tell you the premise. That's not gonna mean anything because we're not gonna go deeper into it in the book anyways. So our main character is a witch. And basically, witches are being hunted because a couple years ago, an evil witch, I guess, took over the country and ruled terribly, killed so many humans, and so now basically the humans are doing the exact same thing. They're just calling every witch, no trial, no nothing. They just kill anyone that's a witch. And so our main character is a witch, and she's also kind of like a vigilante, I guess. I don't know, but she's just trying to kill witch hunters and also save as many witches as she can and like get them to safety to another country. So that's technically what she does. Like she's this cute little rich girl at day, but like this dangerous witch hunter at night. But we don't really see any of that. She just tells us this like once or twice, but we don't really see any of that. We just see her be the cutesy little rich girl that tries to seduce this witch hunter because that's where the romance part comes in. So our love interest is a witch hunter, and basically she's trying to seduce him to get information about the other witches that she wants to save, and he is trying to figure out if she's a witch or not. So I really did just enjoy this for what it was because it just was a fun romantasy, and I really liked the just like cat and mouse game that they were playing because like I said, basically those two are trying to like one up each other and figure each other out the whole time, and it is definitely very fun. So like I said, I had a great time, but just the premise was so cool that I would have liked if they did a little bit more with her being this like crimson moth, that's what she calls herself, as the witch saving person that hunts all these soldiers. It would have been cool to see more of that, but we didn't, and it's fine. I enjoyed it for what it was. The same with the second one, it was kind of fun, although I gotta say, towards like 80% of the book, we were just in the romantasy, but there was technically a war going on around us, so I was just like, can we maybe give us a little bit of plot? Because I feel like we can't resolve this in 20% of the book. And we did, and in my opinion, that was way too fast. But like I said, I enjoyed it for the romantasy. Now for my last one, and I really love this one a lot. I have been wanting to read this for years, and I don't know why I didn't, but here I am, and I finally read Dance of Thieves and Vow of Thieves. Now, this one, I personally would also call it romantasy, the first one at least, but it's not the typical one. Like, there's no smut in it, they only kiss a little bit, and everything else is behind closed doors, you know? Fade to black, I guess. But I do think there was a lot of yearning. So, basically, our main character is a thief, kind of, but she also works for the queen. And the queen sends her on this job to get to the city, and I don't remember, she's trying to find someone there and arrest them or something like that. But basically what ends up happening is she is getting taken prisoner by some random people together with this guy that we met before. She doesn't like him. So they don't really like each other, but now they have to work together to get out of this situation. And like I said, she has been a thief for a while. She knows her tricks. And he's also a lot stronger than he looks like. Now, if you have watched Arcane, this character is called Jace. And when I tell you, character-wise, the whole time I was imagining Jace from Arcane. Like, they are the same person, to be honest. So yeah, if you liked that because he's just like a cute golden retriever boy, and then the girl is just pretty cool and badass, I really loved the dynamic between them. However, like I said, the second one is not romantasy at all. We don't really get any romance. It's a lot. So much about the political intrigue, the politics in this world, and there's a lot going on. No fun at all. We are being kidnapped, beaten, tortured. Our main girl is not having a great time, okay? But it was really good. I really feel like I'm gonna reread these because I enjoyed them a lot. I think I even liked the second one better than the first one, just because there was more happening plot-wise. But overall, I just really enjoyed the series. It was such a good series, and I had a great time. Now for the very last one, which is magical realism, contemporary, I guess. The last duology is Vicious. And now, to be honest, I personally really didn't like the second book. I feel like you could read Vicious as a standalone and be very perfectly happy with that. I feel like if I made another standalone video, I would put Vicious in there because I just want everyone to read this because I love this book. However, there is a second book that is quite popular. A lot of people like it, so I thought I would just talk about it now. So basically in Vicious, we have these two characters called Victor and Eli. And in the present of this book, Victor has just gotten out of prison. However, we also get a not flashback, we get a second timeline that's 10 years before this. And they are basically happening at the same time to us, not to the characters. So we are basically reading what happened 10 years ago. Because Victor and Eli were best friends at university. But now in the present, Victor just came out of prison and he really wants to get Eli. And we don't know why. We don't know what the hell happened. But him and Eli, definitely more like enemies now. And so, like I said, we are spending a lot of time with them 10 years ago when they were friends. So basically, when they were besties, they were both studying at university together. Like I said, besties at school. And they were trying to figure out how to become EOs, which is what they call extraordinary people. So people that have superpowers, basically. Because they found out that if you have a near-death experience, you become an EO. So you get superpowers. And so basically they're like, alrighty, let's almost kill each other. But like, make sure that we don't actually die as well. So yeah, that's basically the plot. And it's so fun. Like, I really love this cat and mouse game between Victor and Eli as well. I had such a good time. I loved the first book so much. Genuinely, I feel like I also need to reread because it's been a while since I read it, and I really enjoyed it. I love V. Schwab's writing. She has become one of my favorite authors lately. And so I love this book. However, now let's talk about the second book. I gotta be honest, it was fine. Just like I said, V. Schwab's writing is gorgeous, so she still has amazing, great writing in this. However, I just didn't love. I don't know what I didn't love. I think there were too many new characters added, and I did not care about them at all. And we were just spending a lot of time with these new characters while I just wanted to be with Victor and Eli and wanted to know more about them, because that's the only positive thing I have to say about this book is I really like that we get more backstory on Victor and Eli. That is very interesting and definitely gonna be important to the story. So I didn't really love the second one, but I can understand why you would like it. And also, I do think there's another one coming. I have no idea when, because our girl Victoria has been teasing it for a while, but now she has brought out this completely different book. So I'm like, where do you find the time, girl? But good for you. So Like I said, I would read it as a standalone, but I actually am gonna be reading the third one as well if it comes out. So stupid, why did I put this in duologies? I don't know, I just wanted to talk about this book, to be honest, because literally, I'm calling it a standalone. It's not really a duology. I don't know what it's doing here. I just wanted to talk about it. So yeah, I guess we're gonna end the video on that point. I hope you had a great time. I hope you got some good recommendations from this. I'm really intrigued if you know other duologies, because like I said, sometimes I just don't want a long series. So if you have more duologies that you could recommend me, I would be very thankful. And let me know how you like these books, if you have read them, and if you want to read them. Thanks so much for being here, and have a great day. Bye!